The film begins with Chinese scientists from the government. At that time, their job was to extract a special mineral called the hypermatrix from rocks. But then, a bad guy named Dr. Cube showed up at their research lab. He really wanted to take the hypermatrix for himself. Just when things looked bad, a superhero named Flash, who could control lightning, came to stop Dr. Cube from getting the hypermatrix. Unfortunately, while Flash was trying to stop Dr. Cube, something went wrong, and the hypermatrix broke into two pieces, releasing a lot of powerful energy. To make matters worse, one of the pieces of the hypermatrix merged with Dr. Cube, turning him into a monster. This caused a big explosion, and many kids lost their parents and became orphans. After that, Flash disappeared, and Dr. Cube became really powerful and started causing trouble in China because no one could stop him. But then, a new hero named Sonic came along and managed to defeat Dr. Cube. Sonic became a hero in the city. Soon after, Dr. Cube went into hiding underground to become even stronger. 10 years later, the kids who had lost their parents because of Dr. Cube were taken care of at Tigress Orphanage. They seemed happy and were playing hide and seek together. One of the orphanage kids, named Yeezy, decided to hide in an old building that hadn't been used in a long time. Meanwhile, the child who was supposed to find them, Sin, had stopped counting. While exploring the old building, Yeezy discovered a hidden tunnel but was too scared to go inside. Instead, he chose to hide in a box. Unfortunately, the box got locked from the outside, and Yeezy started to panic and cry out for help. Sadly, no one heard him, and he eventually fainted. Thankfully, Sin, who had been sneezing from the dust in the old building, eventually found Yeezy. When Yeezy woke up, he found himself in the arms of the lovely and adorable Sin, and it was love at first sight for him. After a while, some mischievous kids from the orphanage decided to play a prank on Yeezy while he was hanging out with his friend Jun Hund. Luckily, Sin was there too. At that time, Yeezy, Jun Hund, and Sin decided to run into the old building to hide from the pranksters. Yeezy remembered the secret passage he had found earlier and invited Sin and Jun Hund to join him. To their surprise, the passage led them out of the orphanage area, and there was a lot of lightning in that area. They followed the lightning to find its source and ended up at Flash's hiding place. However, Flash didn't want any visitors and quickly locked the door to his house. The three of them realized it was Flash and tried to talk to him, but Flash chased them away, forcing them to leave. Yeezy understood that Flash was hiding there because he felt guilty about the explosion incident from 10 years ago. Later on, Sin was seen giving Yeezy a haircut. During that moment, he asked her what kind of man she dreamed of. Sin replied that she liked brave men. Upon hearing this, Yeezy made a promise to himself that when they grew up, he would ask Sin to marry him if he became the bravest man in the world. A few years went by, and the kids from the orphanage were growing up. Sin went to the city for studies and work. On the other hand, Yeezy and Jun Hund were still at the orphanage because they hadn't decided on their future careers. However, this also meant that they often got in trouble with the orphanage caretakers because they spent too much time reading letters instead of studying. The next day, Yeezy and Jun Hund went to the city to celebrate Sin's birthday, and they were really happy to spend time together. The following day, Yeezy and Jun Hund planned to visit Sin at her workplace, but they witnessed a group of armed robbers attacking the police. Shockingly, she got caught up in the incident and was even taken hostage by the robbers. At that moment, Yeezy and Jun Hund couldn't just stand by and decided to help Sin. Sadly, the police didn't let them because the situation was too dangerous, but then Sonic showed up and defeated all the robbers, rescuing Sin. This made Yeezy feel a bit jealous. After that incident, Yeezy and Jun Hund decided to go their separate ways. Jun Hund wanted to take the exam to become a police officer, while Yeezy aimed to become a boxer to prove himself as a daring and brave man to win Sin's heart. The next day, Yeezy wanted to join a boxing gym, but he got rejected because he lost in just one kick. He realized he was still weak, so he went to Flash, hoping Flash would become his teacher. After some pleading, Flash agreed to teach him. Flash's first lesson was to help Yeezy build his tolerance to pain, as Yeezy had been beaten a lot in the past. As time passed, Yeezy trained hard and enthusiastically to chase his dreams. After tough training with Flash, Yeezy became immune to pain. He returned to the boxing gym and challenged the man who had beaten him before. This time, Yeezy was able to block the man's kick and even land a counterpunch. But their fight was stopped by the boxing gym manager, Kate. Shortly after, Kate announced an offer for all the gym members to fight the new boxing champion of the Chinese Boxing Association. No one was brave enough to accept, except for Yeezy. He volunteered to take on the challenge. As a result, Kate offered him a contract to fight against the new champion, Lightning Feng. The following day, Yeezy had his first official fight. He fell down several times during the match, but kept getting back up. When the fight was about to enter the fourth round, Kate recognized Yeezy's toughness and encouraged him to hang on until the ninth round. Yeezy understood Kate's hopes and did his best to stay in the fight, even though he eventually lost. After the match, Yeezy received his payment from Kate and planned to compete again once he had healed from his injuries. Shortly after, Jiun Hund came to meet Yeezy with good news that he had been accepted into the police academy. Jiun Hund also mentioned that Sin Sin had invited them to dinner. However, when they met Sin Sin at the restaurant, both Yeezy and Jiun Hund seemed unhappy because Sin Sin was dating a guy who seemed a bit nerdy. During dinner, a guy named Bo Xian sneezed loudly, making everyone around them feel uncomfortable. Yeezy decided to prank him by sprinkling pepper in front of Bo Xian, causing him to sneeze again. Surprisingly, Bo Xian's sneeze was so powerful that it shattered the glasses of people nearby. Yeezy and Jiun Hund realized that Bo Xian was the real deal, and Sin Sin also knew that Bo Xian was the man behind Sonic. After dinner, Jiun Hund invited Bo Xian to have a drink together, leaving Yeezy and Sin Sin to chat. During their conversation, Yeezy gave Sin Sin a special watch as a gift. He had bought it using the prize money he won from his first match the day before. Although Sin Sin accepted the gift, she seemed a bit distant. Following this, Yeezy tried to ask Flash for superpowers, but Flash immediately turned him down. At that time, Flash emphasized that superpowers come from innate talent, not something given by others. Meanwhile, there was news of a major breakthrough in hypermatrix research. Undeterred, Yeezy was determined to acquire superpowers and tried various methods, like staying in a refrigerator, getting bitten by a giant spider, and even getting struck by lightning. Unfortunately, all of Yeezy's efforts ended up with him in the hospital. Once Yeezy recovered, Kate arranged another match for him, and he happily invited Sin Sin to come watch. As he was about to head home, Sin Sin finally invited him to dinner alone to discuss something important. At that time, just before Yeezy could answer, unexpected news came in about Sonic's serious injury from his fight with Dr. Cube. Hearing this, Sin Sin and Yeezy hurried to the hospital to check on Sonic, also known as Bo Xian. But when they got to the hospital, Sin Sin told Yeezy that he couldn't go in and should go back home. Meanwhile, Dr. Cube was keeping an eye on Sin Sin as a way to defeat Sonic. To keep it short, Yeezy started participating in one boxing match after another, facing strong opponents. Although Yeezy always managed to hold on until the ninth round, he had never won a match. Nevertheless, more and more people were becoming fans of Yeezy. In fact, Yeezy was becoming quite famous, and he had a new nickname, the Stone Wall. Journalists were eager to cover his story. The next day, while Yeezy was practicing, Kate brought exciting news about a special match opportunity. Kate planned to arrange a fight for Yeezy against Yujiro, the undefeated Asian boxing champion from Japan who had won 60 matches. Upon hearing this, Yeezy aimed to defeat Yujiro. However, he knew Yujiro was incredibly strong, so he asked Flash for help in learning an ultimate technique to face him. Flash then taught Yeezy a powerful punch move, which would be very effective if he could use it at the right moment. Afterward, Yeezy went back to his rigorous training to become the new Asian champion. Upon hearing this, Yeezy also wanted to defeat Yujiro, but he knew Yujiro was incredibly strong. So he reached out to Flash for help in learning an ultimate technique to face Yujiro. Flash taught Yeezy a powerful punch move that would be very effective if used at the right moment. After the training, Yeezy went back to working hard to become the new Asian champion. News about the upcoming match between Yeezy and the Asian champion Yujiro was spreading rapidly, gathering more and more support and admiration from people for Yeezy. Meanwhile, Sin was teaching in class as usual. However, she suddenly received a call from Bo Seon and went outside to meet him. Surprisingly, Bo Seon proposed to Sin, but Sin remembered Yeezy's promise and hesitated to accept Bo Seon's proposal. Unbeknownst to them, Dr. Cube was monitoring their activities and had figured out Sonic's true identity as Bo Seon. Then, Dr. Cube started targeting Sin, who was Sonic's weakness, in his quest to get the Hyper Matrix. The next day, Yeezy was deeply focused on his training. Soon after, Sin started feeling worried and afraid that Yeezy might get seriously hurt in the upcoming fight. They ended up having a heated argument that escalated into a big fight, causing them to separate. Since that incident, Yeezy continued to train intensely because he was heartbroken. Sometime later, the day of the match between Yeezy and Yujiro arrived. The first round began with a powerful kick from Yujiro that knocked Yeezy out almost immediately. But Yeezy showed incredible determination, getting up repeatedly and imagining himself dueling Sonic, his rival in love. By the third round, Yeezy had taken several punches, but managed to respond with a hard punch that hit Yujiro on the cheek. For the first time, Yujiro was knocked down. Luckily, the bell rang just as Yujiro was getting up, marking a significant achievement for Yeezy. He had managed to knock down Yujiro and survive more than 3 rounds. Meanwhile, Sin and the orphanage children were kidnapped by Dr. Cube. As the match reached the 9th round, Yeezy aimed to end it with the ultimate move he had learned from Flash and practiced relentlessly. But right before Yeezy could unleash his move, Dr. Cube took control of the broadcast channel. He revealed that Sin and the orphanage children were in his custody, forcing Sonic to reveal his true identity in the middle of the city, broadcasted on all TV stations. Dr. Cube also demanded the Hyper Matrix within 1 hour. If Sonic refuses to comply or tries to escape, Dr. Cube threatened to harm all the hostages. Witnessing this, Yeezy left the fighting arena with unwavering determination. Realizing that something more important than the championship belt was at stake, Sin. Surprisingly, Jiun Hunt was waiting for Yeezy outside the arena, and they planned to enter the orphanage through a secret passage. Before doing so, they tried to seek help from Flash, hoping he would assist them. Unfortunately, Flash made it clear that he didn't want to repeat the same mistake again. This response left Yeezy disappointed, and he left Flash behind. Meanwhile, Sin endured torture from Dr. Q and his henchmen, doing her best to comfort the frightened orphanage children. At the same time, the police were preparing to deal with the Hyper Matrix. On the other hand, Yeezy and Jiun Hunt successfully entered the orphanage through a secret door. There, they saw Dr. Q guarding the hostages and immediately took action to rescue them. Sadly, Yeezy suffered significant injuries to his stomach, but he pressed on with the rescue mission, refusing to back down. In the end, they successfully rescued the hostages, but Sin was held captive elsewhere. Long story short, the police handed over what they claimed to be the Hyper Matrix to Dr. Cube. However, it turned out to be a fake one, this making Dr. Cube mad, and he was about to harm Sin. There, Sonic attempted to reach Sin, but Yeezy was faster. Unfortunately, Yeezy sustained increasingly severe injuries as he shielded Sin. Shortly after, Jiun Hunt arrived and urged Sin to escape, while Yeezy faced off against Dr. Cube. At first, their efforts were in vain until Flash had a change of heart and showed up at the right moment to defeat Dr. Cube. However, like Sonic, Flash also ran out of power and lost his life at the hands of Dr. Cube. This event finally stirred the spirit of the Yeezy Knight, and he rose once more to battle Dr. Cube. Despite being beaten multiple times, Yeezy always stood up, fueled by thoughts of the people he loved, especially Sin, the girl he adored. Now, Yeezy had become the world's bravest man. With great determination, he expressed his love for Sin Sin in his final strike. In the end, Yeezy succeeded in defeating Dr. Q, but then passed out. When he regained consciousness, he was in Sin Sin's embrace, just as when he had first fallen in love with her. With his remaining strength, Yeezy asked Sin Sin to marry him. The film ends. The moral lesson from this film is if you want to win someone's heart, forget flowers and chocolates, just fight with someone until you get knocked out. In the end, she will marry you.